My name is Emma Grace Whitfield. I am 101 years old, and I still wake up each morning in the same Tennessee home where I have spent most of my adult life. People often ask what secret has allowed me to remain active and independent for so many years. Some assume it must be expensive supplements, special treatments, or remarkable genetics. I smile because my answer is much simpler. For more than 50 years, I have eaten the same 5 everyday foods that I first learned to appreciate from my family. They are not fashionable, difficult to find, or surrounded by complicated rules. They simply became part of my daily life. Over the years, doctors, advertisements, and health trends have offered many different opinions about what I should eat. I listened with respect, but I always returned to the familiar habits that had served me well for decades. I am not here to argue against modern medicine or suggest that one routine works for everyone. Every person has different needs, and important health decisions should always be made with qualified healthcare professionals. What I hope to share is something much simpler. Lasting well-being is often built through small choices repeated with patience and consistency. Before I tell you about the 5 foods that became part of my everyday routine, I invite you to pause for a moment. Set aside the endless promises that fill the internet and ask yourself whether the simplest habits might deserve another look. Sometimes the greatest changes begin not with something new, but with faithfully returning to what has quietly worked for generations. When people ask where my daily routine began, they often expect me to mention a famous book or a revolutionary health program. The truth is much quieter than that. My greatest teacher was my grandmother. I can still picture her walking through the garden in the early morning, gathering simple ingredients that later appeared on our family table. Nothing was measured according to modern trends. Meals were prepared with care, shared with gratitude, and repeated so often that healthy choices became ordinary rather than remarkable. As I grew older, I experimented with many popular nutrition ideas because I believed newer advice must surely be better. Some routines were difficult to maintain, while others left me feeling no different than before. Eventually, I found myself returning to the foods I had known since childhood. They were simple, affordable, familiar, and easy to prepare. More importantly, they fit naturally into everyday life instead of requiring constant effort or complicated planning. I am not suggesting that every family should eat exactly the same way mine did. People have different health conditions, cultural traditions, and nutritional needs. My experience is simply one personal story. What I learned is that consistency often matters more than complexity. A balanced eating pattern built from wholesome foods that you can enjoy year after year may be easier to sustain than constantly chasing the latest trend. Looking back now, I believe those quiet lessons from my grandmother gave me something far more valuable than another diet. They taught me to trust simple habits that could remain with me for a lifetime. As Emma continues sharing the habits that shaped her later years, she begins with the food that has remained at the center of her kitchen for decades. Every morning starts the same way. Before breakfast, she enjoys a small spoonful of extra virgin olive oil, then uses it throughout the meals she prepares during the day. This routine was not inspired by advertisements or changing nutrition trends. It was a habit she learned from older family members who believed that simple ingredients deserved a permanent place at the table. Over time, the practice became less about following a rule and more about maintaining a rhythm she could trust. Emma explains that she prefers high-quality, cold-pressed, extra virgin olive oil because she enjoys its natural flavor and minimal processing. While modern research has explored the role of olive oil as part of balanced dietary patterns, she reminds viewers that no single food can guarantee health or prevent disease. Her story reflects only her personal experience and should not replace individual medical advice or nutrition guidance. Looking back, Emma believes the greatest value of this habit is its consistency rather than its complexity. One small daily choice became part of a larger lifestyle built on home-cooked meals, regular routines, and moderation. She encourages viewers not to search endlessly for perfect solutions, but to focus on sustainable habits they can maintain for many years. In her experience, lasting well-being is rarely created by dramatic changes. It grows quietly through ordinary decisions, repeated with patience, care, and gratitude, one simple day after another. From that simple morning routine, Emma naturally moves to the other foods that have shared a place at her table for many decades. She explains that her meals have never been complicated because she believes consistency is easier to maintain than constantly chasing new ideas. A spoonful of raw honey mixed into warm water has long been part of her morning. Fresh figs in season and dried figs during the colder months remind her of the trees and gardens she knew as a child. Garlic and onions appear in nearly every homemade meal, adding both flavor and tradition, while a slow-cooked bowl of lentils remains one of her favorite lunches or evening meals. Emma appreciates that these foods have been enjoyed across many cultures for generations and continue to attract scientific interest for their nutritional qualities. At the same time, she reminds viewers that foods should not be viewed as miracle solutions or substitutes for appropriate medical care. Every person has unique health needs, and no single ingredient can promise the same results for everyone. For Emma, the greatest lesson is not found in one particular food, but in the pattern they create together. Her meals are simple, familiar, and easy to prepare, making them realistic to enjoy year after year. Instead of filling her kitchen with endless specialty products, she chooses ingredients she knows well and prepares them with care. Looking back across more than 50 years, she believes that a balanced diet built on wholesome foods, moderation, and steady daily habits has been far more valuable than constantly changing eating plans that are difficult to sustain. After sharing the foods that have remained part of her table for so many years, Emma pauses before continuing because she believes the most important lesson is not found on the plate itself. Looking back across more than half a century, she has come to believe that good nutrition is only one part of a much larger picture. She has known people who ate carefully yet struggled with constant stress, and she has also met people whose greatest strength seemed to come from their hopeful attitude, meaningful relationships, and steady daily routines. These experiences convinced her that caring for the whole person matters just as much as choosing wholesome foods. Emma encourages viewers to see health as a collection of everyday habits working together, rather than expecting one ingredient or one product to provide every answer. She believes nourishing meals become more meaningful when combined with restful sleep, regular movement suited to individual ability, supportive friendships, and moments of gratitude that bring calm to everyday life. While scientific research continues to explore the connections between lifestyle and well-being, Emma emphasizes that every person is different and that medical concerns should always be discussed with qualified healthcare professionals. Her purpose is simply to share what she has learned through personal experience. She believes lasting progress grows from small actions repeated consistently instead of dramatic changes that are difficult to maintain. In her own life, balanced meals, peaceful routines, emotional resilience, and strong family connections gradually became parts of the same foundation. Together, they created a lifestyle that felt sustainable, meaningful, and realistic, reminding her that true well-being is usually built through many simple choices, working side by side over time. As Emma reflects on the habits that supported her throughout the years, she says the next lesson has nothing to do with what was on her plate. It begins with the quiet conversations she learned to have with herself. She stopped asking whether she appeared healthy to other people and started asking whether her daily choices truly reflected the life she wanted to live. When she felt tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed, she no longer ignored those feelings or hoped they would simply disappear. Instead, she accepted them honestly and looked for one small step that could move her in a better direction. Emma believes this kind of self-awareness is not about judging yourself. It is about understanding yourself. She explains that lasting habits become easier to build when people recognize what is helping them and what may no longer fit their lives. Sometimes the answer is improving a daily routine. Sometimes it is making more time for rest, reconnecting with loved ones, or preparing simple meals at home more often. Small changes become meaningful because they are based on honesty rather than pressure. She reminds viewers that every person faces different circumstances, and there is no perfect path that works for everyone. Some challenges require guidance from healthcare professionals, while others begin with simple lifestyle adjustments. Her experience has taught her that meaningful progress rarely happens overnight. It grows through patient self-reflection, realistic expectations, and consistent action. Looking back, Emma believes every healthy habit she has shared began with one quiet decision to face reality with kindness instead of fear. That single choice became the foundation for stronger routines, healthier relationships, and a more peaceful way of living that continued to grow year after year. After learning to be honest with herself, Emma discovered that honesty alone was not enough. She also needed compassion. Looking back over more than a century of life, she believes that many people continue carrying emotional burdens long after the original moment has passed. Regret, disappointment, anger, and guilt can quietly become part of everyday life if they are never acknowledged or released. Emma realized that holding on to these feelings did not change the past. It only made it more difficult to appreciate the present and continue moving forward. She explains that one of the most meaningful changes she ever made was learning to treat herself with the same patience she would naturally offer a close friend. Instead of criticizing every mistake, she accepted that every stage of life brings lessons, setbacks, and opportunities to begin again. She also found that showing understanding toward other people often brought greater peace to her own heart. For Emma, forgiveness does not mean forgetting painful experiences or accepting harmful behavior. It simply means refusing to let resentment become a permanent companion. Emma encourages viewers to remember that emotional well-being deserves the same attention as physical health. Some situations may require support from trusted family members, friends, counselors, or healthcare professionals, and seeking help is a sign of wisdom rather than weakness. In her own experience, compassion created space for healthier routines to grow naturally. She slept more peacefully, appreciated simple moments more deeply, and approached each new day with greater gratitude. Over time, she came to believe that kindness toward yourself and others strengthens every other healthy habit, making it easier to build a balanced, meaningful life one day at a time. As Emma reflects on everything she has shared so far, she says one lesson has remained true through every season of her life. Real change rarely happens all at once. The habits that supported her health, her peace of mind, and her independence were built slowly through ordinary days that often seemed unremarkable at the time. Looking back, she realizes that lasting progress was never the result of one perfect decision. It came from returning to the same simple practices again and again with patience and determination. Emma believes many people become discouraged because they expect immediate results from a new routine. When improvement takes longer than expected, they assume the effort has failed and move on to something else. Her experience has been very different. She learned that healthy eating, regular movement, meaningful relationships, emotional balance, and restful routines all become stronger when practiced consistently over long periods. Whenever illness, grief, or unexpected challenges interrupted her habits, she did not view those moments as failure. She simply began again with the next meal, the next morning, or the next opportunity. She encourages viewers to approach their own well-being with realistic expectations and kindness toward themselves. Every person follows a different path, and some situations require guidance from qualified healthcare professionals. Even so, small daily choices remain valuable because they gradually become part of everyday life. A nutritious meal, a short walk, a quiet conversation, or a few moments of reflection may seem insignificant on their own, yet together, they create meaningful change. Emma believes patience is not waiting without action. It is continuing to care for yourself faithfully while trusting that steady habits can quietly shape a healthier and more fulfilling life over the years. As Emma brings together the lessons she has learned over more than 100 years, she says that the strongest foundation for a healthy life is the condition of the heart and mind. Wholesome meals, regular movement, and dependable routines all have an important place, but she believes they become easier to maintain when they grow from a sense of inner peace. For her, honesty, compassion, patience, and gratitude are not goals that are reached once. They are quiet choices that must be practiced again each day, just like preparing a nourishing meal or caring for a home. Every morning, Emma begins with a simple reminder that another day is another opportunity to make thoughtful decisions. She does not spend time comparing her journey with someone else's because she has learned that every life follows a different path. Instead, she focuses on habits that match her values and can be repeated comfortably over many years. This approach has helped her remain steady through both joyful seasons and difficult ones. Emma reminds viewers that health is deeply personal and that individual needs vary. Medical concerns should always be discussed with qualified healthcare professionals, while everyday lifestyle habits can be adapted to fit personal circumstances and abilities. In her experience, lasting well-being grows when people care for both body and mind with equal attention. A balanced meal, a peaceful walk, a grateful thought, or a meaningful conversation may appear small on their own, yet together they create a stronger and more resilient life. She believes these ordinary choices, repeated faithfully over time, become the quiet foundation for purpose, confidence, and lasting contentment throughout every stage of life. As Emma reaches the end of her story, she smiles and reflects on the path that carried her through more than 100 years of life. She reminds viewers that her experience is simply one personal journey shaped by her own circumstances, values, and daily choices. It is not a promise that everyone will have the same results, nor is it a replacement for professional medical advice. Every person has unique health needs, and important medical decisions should always be made with qualified healthcare professionals. Her hope is much simpler. She wants people to remember that everyday habits still matter, even when they seem small. Looking back, Emma believes the greatest lessons she learned had little to do with chasing perfection. She chose wholesome foods she could prepare consistently, created routines that gave structure to her days, treated herself with honesty, offered compassion to both herself and others, and remained patient whenever life became difficult. None of these habits transformed her overnight, yet together, they quietly shaped the life she enjoys today. She discovered that meaningful progress is rarely dramatic. It grows through ordinary actions, repeated with care over many years. Before saying goodbye, Emma offers one final piece of encouragement. Do not wait for the perfect time to begin caring for yourself. Start with one realistic change that fits your life today. Perhaps it is preparing one nourishing meal, taking a gentle walk, reconnecting with someone you love, or setting aside a few peaceful moments for reflection. Small beginnings should never be underestimated because they often become lifelong habits. Emma hopes her story reminds every viewer that a meaningful life is built with gratitude, consistency, kindness, and hope, one thoughtful choice at a time, through every season of life.